Today we're going to do a little A minor jam, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two chords that work really well together, and then I'm going to show you a couple of little licks that go along with it. Okay? So we're going to start out, I'm going to do it two ways like I usually do, once with the pick and then also fingerstyle. So the first chord is an A minor 7th actually, but the way I like to play it in this context, we could play it like that or like that. But I'm going to play it in this fashion, and I'll show you why in a second. So we're going to lay the third finger. It's a little bit advanced, but so you're going to get your third finger barring the 5th fret from the high to the low for first 4 strings. Okay, so that's the sound of that. And then we're not going to even worry about this A string. If we hit it, that's fine. If we don't, that's cool. But we are going to put our second finger on the 5th fret of the E string, get that root note in there, okay? So here's the look of the chord. And the reason I like this particular shape is because we're going to be going to a D9th chord, and all we have to do to accomplish that is to take that second finger and bring it down to the A string 5th fret, okay, which is a D note. And then we're going to take the first finger and hit the 4th fret on the D string. And we're going to keep that finger barring the G, the B, and the E string. So it looks like this and sounds like this. Okay? Now that may be difficult for you, and if it is, I have an alternative way of doing it. What you could do is just take your third finger and hit the 5th fret on the G string, tuck your pinky under 5th fret on the B string, and don't even worry about that high E, and just do it like this. Okay, so that would be like. So if that works better for you, you're still going to need to get that. You got to practice if you're not familiar with that. Barring with the third finger takes a little bit of strength, but believe me, it's worth it, because what it's going to sound like in the end, I'll show you in a minute. So here's your first chord. Second chord is D9, or and here's what it sounds like in practice. So you'll notice I was picking up an open A string on that move. I'm doing a little bit different each time, but it's like an improv thing. So you can pick up the open E string. A little bit of an interior melody going on there. So that's the rhythm. Now if you want to do it fingerstyle, which I prefer on this particular thing, if you're comfortable with the pick, that's just fine. But if you want to do it fingerstyle, your thumb would actually take the place of the pick, obviously, on that low A string. And then what I like to do is pinch the G, the D, and the E, the D, G, B string. Get a nice voicing, it's kind of warm. And then come down on that D note, which is the 5th fret of the A string, and either hit it like this, or if you can make that bar, then it gives you the option of having that high A in there. So what that sounds like is a little bit different sound. It's a keep a little rhythm with my right hand, a little percussive thing. Okay, now what I'd like to do is, before I go back to the pick, I'm going to expand on that just a little bit and show you a little walk-up that you can do. It's pretty easy. It's an open E, a G to the A. So it's E and then E3 and E5. E5 being the root, that A note. So it sounds a little bit like this. All I'm doing is going, and I'm changing up the rhythm. Right here I do. And you know, you can, I'm just improvising, so whatever works for the particular song. But it's a way of having a counter melody without having too much work involved and too complicated. So I'll play it one more time with the pick. You'll notice that when I did that, I did a little bit of light palm muting, and I can't really emphasize how important this is for dynamics. So you'll notice I'm putting the palm of my right hand gently down on the strings, not too much, but it just gives it sort of a, I like that percussive, as opposed to, nothing wrong with that. But if you hunker down on it and do a little palm muting dynamically. Okay? And lastly, I want to show you one last lick before I let you go. And this one goes against those two chords. So if you're playing with someone that's playing this, you can eventually do a, you've heard that before. Okay, that's a little bit more advanced, but it's something you can do when you're going from an A minor to a D9. It will go along with that, and you're starting out with your 7th fret, 3rd finger on the D string, and then walk it down chromatically. Okay, that's what your 3rd finger and your 1st finger are doing. Or you can just walk it down like. Bit of Wayne's World, right? Stairway to Heaven. But it works here really well. It's also in many different songs I can think of. Oye Como Va does that as well. Santana, which I had the pleasure of playing with the Santana band once upon a time. That's a whole other story. So let me take that real slowly for you one more time. That's just going from that version of an A minor to a D9. So this is really an alternate to break it down. So that's our little jam in A minor, and there's lots of different places you can go with that. You can, I'll show you a little example of where you can go with that, and we'll get after that in another lesson, but. So that's just an example of some of the fun you can have with that. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it. Hit me up with any comments you may have. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you down the road.
My friend Jimmy has the coolest guitar lessons. Go to jimmydillon.com/free and get all your amazing gifts. He's the best. Roll, rock and roll. Stay awesome and rock and roll.